you're welcome to stand or sit, or feel free to choose to partake or not. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā tara ki tai. E hiki aki ana te atakura, e tio, e huka, e hauhu, tihei. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody who has come here tonight, especially to the local residents. This meeting is for you. So if you're a local resident, this priority is that you get the information that you want out of this evening. And if we can't get you that information, we will make sure that we do get that information. Cindy here will be taking notes, and so make sure that when you do ask questions, that you are clear. I'm very pleased to be able to be at a meeting about the wastewater treatment plant in Bromley, which has good news. It's good news that hasn't come soon enough, but it is still good news. I just want to point out your local elected representatives. So we have Jackie Simons, who's a community board member, and Joe Zervos, and Greg Mitchell, and Councillor Kelly Barber, and Councillor Aaron Kewen, and Regional Councillor Greg Burns, and Councillor Jana Johansson, who's your local councillor, and the Mayor of Christchurch, Phil Major. And we also have apologies from Alex Hewison, Ruben Davidson, Celeste Donovan, and Tracy McClellan. And I just also want to mention the names of our local staff team, led by Chris Turner-Bullock, Cindy Shepherd, Emily Toes, Sam Savage, Rory Crawford, Jackie Miller, and elsewhere in the council we have Brent Smith, who is the GM of infrastructure, Gavin Hutchinson, Adrian Seeger, Adam Toos, who runs the wastewater treatment plant, and some of his technical staff, Matthew McClintock, and we have the Chief Executive, Mary Richardson. Thank you for joining us, Mary. And our friendly security guard, Aroha, who I'm sure won't be needed. Now, is there any media in the room? Just like people to know if they're speaking in front of the media. In that case, thank you to Raya and the team here for hosting us. So safety procedures. In case of emergency, just exit through the closest fire exit. You'll see them, they're well labelled with exit. And staff will direct you to the assembly point. Toilet facilities are located to the left down the corridor. And so the order of this evening will be that Brent and his team will speak after me and present an update about the insurance and about the activated sludge plant that's going to replace the current plant. There will be an opportunity to ask questions, as I said before, but please wait until I at least signal to say to the person who's speaking, are you ready for some questions? Or at the end, there will also be space for questions. But please, as I said before, please do let us know your questions. If they're not addressed tonight, Cindy will be taking notes. And if it's about something that is not the wastewater treatment plant, please talk to one of your local elected members at the end, or contact them afterwards. So this meeting is for Bromley residents and the people who live around the plant. So that's Bexley, Eastern Aranui, Bromley, and rather than for other issues, it's about the wastewater treatment plant only. But it is very important to us that you get the information that you need and want about the wastewater treatment plant. Before I hand over to Brent, I want to acknowledge some groups of people. Firstly, I want to acknowledge the local residents. It's been too long. You have had to put up not only with this, but also with the organics processing plant and other issues. It is not fair, and the council acknowledges that we didn't do a good enough job, didn't respond quick enough, and we had to do better. And now we're trying to do better. And tonight you are going to learn about plans to stop the wastewater treatment plant stinking for good. And so that is good news. And I want to also thank the community advisory group who provided much needed and robust feedback since that group was established after the wastewater treatment plant fire. And I also want to acknowledge Adam too and his team who have got the plant running on number 8 wire and duct tape. And it's a heck of a job. It's, as you can imagine, it's a pretty smelly, dirty job, and they are the peak of public service as far as I'm concerned. So thank you, Adam. Now, finally, before I do hand over to you, I just want to ask that everybody speaks to each other with respect and with courtesy and tries to be constructive because we are here to solve problems. And this is, although it hasn't come soon enough, it's still good news. So over to you, Brent.
Great. Thanks, Paul, and welcome to the community for coming out tonight. So I've just got a few key points about the trickling filter the trickling filter repair for those that may not have heard the details or have seen it on newsline articles, etc. And acknowledge the mayor here because I've stolen half of this from one of the speeches, so he was quite happy with it. So yes, we have finally got an insurance settlement for the wastewater treatment plant. The council have settled for a sum of $85 million, and that's now going to allow us to go through and start building the replacement. So the replacement for the trickling filters is going to be an activated sludge reactor at the plant. And that replaces the filters that were part of the sewage treatment process. And obviously that's the damage that caused the major odour issues for the last, approximately 3 years. The settlement was approved by councillors unanimously and follows very complex negotiations. We have Adrian here tonight, who was part of this. Can you all hear? Yep. Adrian, who was part of those complex negotiations. It's for those of you, probably all of us who have gone through insurance negotiations over the past 14 years, you know it's not an easy job with insurance companies. But it does, this does form a significant milestone for us and allows us to move forward to build the replacement, which is more resilient, but it will also be more environmentally friendly. Over the last year or so, and this is part of what's taken the time, we've been working away on designs which have allowed us to substantiate the insurance claim, and Adrian might be able to give a little bit more detail on that later. So the design work is underway, and we're up to around preliminary design stage, so it's not like we're just starting now. And I signed a purchase order the other day for the next phase of the design work, and the consultants are kicking straight into it. So we're doing everything we can to get the permanent fix as quickly as we can. Activated sludge reactors are very common and well known across the world and in New Zealand. Paul was telling me about his experience with one when he grew up in Auckland, what a difference it made to the area. But this is going to be much more resilient. It will allow for growth. It's a type of construction where, as the population grows, we can just add on other lanes in the future. And so the long-term cost is going to be much better for council. The old trickling filters were 50 years old. The mayor tells me that he worked on them when he was in short pants, just about. And in that time, the technology's moved forward leaps and bounds. So it will give us the opportunity to significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions as well, which is another thing the council is high on our priority list. And it has a smaller footprint, so that allows us to upsize it as the population grows. The current estimate cost is $140 million. So along with the money we had put in the long-term plan, the insurance funding assists with that, and so there's going to be no impact on rates in terms of the building of this. It's already locked in. And the other good thing is we'll be able to build the activated sludge reactor without disrupting our current operations. But in the meantime, we're going to be working hard to keep the damaged plant running, and when I say we, that'll be and his team down there. I don't know how they've done it so well really for 3 years, because it really is running a temporary system the way they've done it has been quite amazing. But as we go through, we'll keep the community updated on what we have to do. There will be a little bit of work needs to happen over the summer when the flows are at its lowest, because some of the temporary system, one of the converted clarifiers has got a limp now, hasn't it? Yeah. Some of the bearings need replacing. So, yeah, in short, the design is well underway. We're a year into it already. Once we've got that done, the next stage, and Gavin will be able to confirm this, we're looking at also engaging the contractor early as well to work with the consultant, so that as the various phases get completed, they can kick on straight away. So that's the next step. And the construction of the plant, we're estimating at this stage, will take 2 years after the design's finished. And then there'll be the reactor being commissioned, and finally, hopefully, we'll be able to, part of that commissioning will be to reverse the work we've done on the temporary solution and put them back into operation. So that's a bit of a snapshot as to what we've done and what we've got to. And so if there's any technical questions, we have Gavin as head of Three Waters here. We've got Adrian here from the insurance perspective, and maybe any operational questions. He's screwing up his nose, but we've got Adam, who's been running the plant so well. So, yeah, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Gavin does have some paper printouts of some plans there as to what it might look like, but it's just really an aerial view. Yes?
My first interest is in the insurance segment. 85 million, we understood that there was an initial 10 million or more for operating, for dealing with operation after the immediately after the fire event. Is that 85 million like inclusive of that, or is it in addition to that?
Yes, that's correct. It's a fully inclusive amount of any extra costs of working in temporary repairs.
So it's fair to say that, say 85 million, it's 10 million, which has already been spent, is setting aside. So there's roughly what 80 to 90 million having to come from ratepayers moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know the exact figures, but yeah, the balance had already been put into the plan, because we didn't know what we were going to be able to negotiate for the insurance. So we just wanted to make sure that at the end of this process, we had enough to crack on and get it fixed.
Thank you.
So my question is, you knew that the money was going to be there. Why couldn't it have been a bit faster coming, planning to sort of set it all in motion and get ahead and do it?
Well, as I say, the insurance negotiation is quite a complex process.
But even with that,
Yeah,
the money was in the long-term plan.
So
worked out somewhere.
that's why we've been working on the design for the last almost a year. But Adrian, would you like to comment on the process, just around why we couldn't move any faster?
The first thing to remember with a commercial insurance claim like this one is it's very different from a residential claim where the insurer will carry out the work, pay the contractor, manage everything. The insurance in the commercial claim is where we have to identify what the damage is, what it will take to fix it, the likely costs of that, and reach agreement with the insurer on that. We need to, as council, fund the repairs. It's only after we spend the money that the insurer will fund the money back to us. So that's why we need to spend the time to identify what had to happen, how much it would take, and reach the agreement with them on it. Otherwise, we're exposing ratepayers to the potential of covering the costs that the insurer didn't. It's taken that length of time to do that and work on as Brenda said, work on the long-term plan provision as well. think that was finalised sort of around May, June, just before the final plan was adopted.
Yep.
So we worked as quick as we can on this one. It's been complex, but the insurers have been cooperative along the process. There's been nothing that has held it up from their side. They've been in the meetings with us, with Adam and his guys, with Gavin's guys, working out what exactly needed to happen, what was the best option for the city going forward.
I've got one more question.
Sure.
And that's like, was it an accident happening like this on a major asset in our town? How possible in this day and age could that happen? How, there's somebody that's not done their job properly, for it to blow up.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's, I think there's still some ongoing work in terms of that area that you're talking about is you know, as you say, to who was responsible for it. But we're just trying to focus now on getting it done as quickly as possible. That's the key message here tonight. We did start working on the design as soon as we could without jeopardising our claim.
Yeah.
And we're just focused now on engaging contractors as fast as we can. I think the mayor said to me he'd like the diggers in there before Christmas, but we're not sure whether we can achieve that yet.
I've got one.
But you know, we are trying to pull out all stops, and yes, it has taken far too long.
I think if I can interpret what you said, I think it's fair to say that establishing liability wouldn't speed up the repair of the plant or the replacement of the plant. But I agree with you that it's important that that's established.
Moving the rate part, I'd like to know that this one here.
Yeah,
We have a question.
So would I.
Talking about diggers, and I just want to know the noise that's going to create. Replacement.
The noise is
For the rebuild.
yeah. Don't know the detail at this point, but we will try and keep the community informed anyway, because obviously there will be. You will have all lived through demolition. Sorry.
The donuts have to come down?
The tricky thing, yeah, the concrete will have to come down, yes.
That is coming.
Yeah. And it's, you'll be able to see there is a paper copy there, you'll be able to see it takes up a slightly less footprint, but it will be going on the same spot.
And when it's completed, what machinery is it?
Gavin might be able to answer that as the question. What sort of machinery runs, what it is.
Operation.
Yeah. As an activated sludge.
It's reasonably quiet. It's just got basically EV one to it, and those lines will be inside a building to be acoustically breathed.
So will it be quieter than the current plant?
I don't think you'll notice any difference. The noise level there won't be worse.
So it's definitely not going to be worse. Okay, good. Any other questions?
There's another question.
And hold on, before we have a question from Don, who's had a question, I just want to check if there's any others. Are there any others? Katinka?
I've got quite a few.
Katinka and then Kathy.
Right, I read something that said that it was going to take 3 years, so 1 year to design it and 2 years to make it. We've already said that we've been working at it for 1 year, so does that count an extra year for the design?
Yes, it does. We're up to preliminary design. It's taken that long to get to there. We're talking detailed design, construction drawings, that type of thing, and then into the construction. Yes.
Can I ask why it's going to take all that time, whereas there's lots of plans already in New Zealand and around the world? Why can't you just grab those plans and use them?
But we're hoping it doesn't take that long, but we've timelined it out with the consultants at the moment. That's their current forecast, isn't it, Gavin?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But we will work with them to work out ways. For example, we're not going to wait till the whole design is completed before we start a contractor on site. We're going to try and get things working in tandem to shorten it as much as we can.
I'm just thinking that if we don't have to go and pay lots of money for designs that are already out there. And also have people sitting doing these designs, that the money that we would be saving from there could be put into workers to build the facility, which then gets rid of a year for the design, it gets rid of a year for the makeup of it, and it should only be 1 year.
I hear what you're saying, and we'll work as much as we can to shorten it. It is a little bit more complex than that around the foundations for it and the connections to the existing plant, and then turning the old temporary system back into what it should be. So there is a lot of work to do, but we rest assured we'll be pushing as hard as we can.
Right, the other thing that I'm really concerned about is that I hate the words activated/reactor, and that reactor word is just awful. But does this mean that it's going to be open to the air and not covered?
I'll get Gavin to explain what it looks like and how it operates.
Because that's really scary for a start.
And we might also be able to get Paul to reflect on what happened up at Auckland.
Yeah, I'll go to, yeah.
It's activated sludge reactor, so essentially what it is, it's a very, very large tank in lanes, that'll be probably at least 5 meters height. Wastewater is put into the front of it and air is injected in. Because it's aerated, that's why there won't be any odours coming from that plant. You maintain oxygen within the wastewater, you don't get odours. The odours will become when the air is used up and it goes anaerobic. The reason it's called activated sludge is that the way we ensure that sludge, the wastewater is treated to the standard is that we are, as the wastewater comes out of that reactor, it's produced solids. We actually take a lot of those solids and put them in the front of it, which is just full of bugs. So we've got high concentration of bugs that will eat on the wastewater to treat it to a higher level. I know the wording doesn't sound good, but this is a very common technology in New Zealand and around the world, which is one of the reasons why we've chosen it. Yeah, I mean, if you go online and type in activated sludge, you'll see a lot of plants around the world. It's pretty common technology. It's not scary, it's quite standard.
One of the ones that I could see were all open here. And
Yeah, they're all open here.
Yep. Straight away.
So they're all open here, and because we're injecting that oxygen into 24/7, that's why there won't be any open.
But we're doing it now, so, and you've got all the activators. So you're at all from here, right?
So the temporary activated sludge, it's a very different system. So it's a temporary fix, like a band-aid. The plant we're using will be modern, new to the highest specifications.
Absolutely guarantee that we will not get a slap.
Not from that plant.
Okay, well, I'm really happy to hear that.
Right. Do you have any more questions? So we have a question from Kathy.
Oh, yeah, basically mine was the same question. Are we guaranteeing in 3 years' time that this is going to be? We have been mucking around, and I sort of same similar question. Is this, when you're building, does it come in bits and you put it together like a jigsaw it was done, or was it all built on site?
A lot of it's actually built on site. It's a big concrete structure with a lot of lanes in it, and then the blowers. Yeah, it's probably oversimplifying it, but it is built on site. It's just a matter of getting the foundations right and the connections and marrying it back into the existing treatment process. But yeah, I can't say it often enough. We will be pushing as hard as we can to get it built as fast as we can.
So there is a possibility it might get inside 3 years.
We're certainly hoping so. We're going to be pushing for it.
A question from Johnny.
We just pulled down the concrete thing. They just gonna have been spraying with water so we don't get sick. Because last time we dug it all up, we all got rid of sick from it. If you spray next time we pull down that concrete, then maybe the community won't get sick. I'm just thinking of the kids, that's all.
Good point, and that normally in demolition projects there is a requirement for that type of thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. And there was another question. But before we go to Don, sorry, we will come back to you, Don. Just want to make sure that
community do shop.
Just want to make sure there's no other questions from the locals. I will make a comment in line with what you said before. I was actually born in Mangere Bridge, which is just around the corner from the largest sewage treatment plant in the Auckland region. My dad was a fitter and turner at the plant, although he joked that he was an underwater welder. He wasn't really responsible for this because moved on by the time, but the plant stopped smelling. It used to smell very similar to what the current plant smells like, and when they moved to this activated sludge, it stopped smelling, and it's led to a huge regeneration of the Manukau Harbour and of the foreshore. Now there is a big difference, which Christchurch could choose to do in the future, which is that they also replaced the oxidation ponds with UV treatment, but that is very, very expensive. But it's not something that is, it's something that you can do in the future. So just from my own personal experience of where I grew up, and my dad likes to drive me past there, which is a long way from the airport to his house. You just don't smell it. It's completely different. So I can assure you that's what an activated sludge plant does. So now, do we have any other questions?
I've got one more. My concern is the amount of growth in housing in Christchurch. It's everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. And we've got a plant at the moment that's at 110%. How can you still be consenting those homes when we're trying to work on a system that's broken?
Still 3 years away.
That's still 3 years away.
I don't really know if I've got an answer for that just off the cuff, but it's when the system is in place, it will have plenty of capacity, and there is other work going on at the moment. I know in the Papanui area, there's plans being drawn up at the moment for actually big tanks to hold stuff back so that it doesn't feed through too fast. But I believe there is going to be enough capacity. We'll obviously have to keep an eye on that. It's being designed, I know that, for the current maximum capacity. So, but you raise a good point, and we can check back through I don't know the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3,000 homes a month. That's an awful lot of shit to go out there.
It's got to go somewhere, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't know about 3,000.
Do any of the
It sounds very, very high.
Do any of the other staff present here have anything to contribute on to in terms of answering?
I think what I'll say is, in terms of the current plant, I believe there is capacity still for the plant. The issue is there's no redundancy. So we're losing some kit down there, that's where the issue really picks up. So we can take more waste houses into it. The issue is if you lose the best kit.
One of those areas go down like. One of those areas go.
Yeah, so and then from that, whether we get more houses tomorrow or not, that's an issue
I
regardless.
really don't want them here. I
So,
want to be able to know that we can just get on and live like we are at the moment, not too much of a problem.
Yeah.
Until that plant's completed.
yeah, that's the only solution is to get the new plant in place. Right, it does.
And just picking up on a point that Paul made about the oxidation pond. So obviously currently while you're running a temporary solution, they're part of the treatment process. So when this is all done, they will just go back to, how would you describe it, like a disinfection process, final scrubbing basically. So that's why we've had a little bit of issue with the ponds, because we've had to use them as part of the process, which is not normal. Yeah, we'll get it back the way it should be. And it's still preferable. You're right, UV systems are hellishly expensive to run. So if we can use nature to do our work for us, that's what we do.
Is there another question down the back here from this gentleman? You, sir? Yes? Okay. I think we can go back to Don now.
Thanks, guys. Mary, can I raise another seriously? No, I'm joking. Following on from what Katinka and Vicky were asking, actually, the first obvious question in my mind was definitely following Katinka, is what has been put in place to make sure that this disaster can absolutely not happen again. Can you walk us through the fire suppression and how you're going to manage that sort of thing? Firstly. Secondly, I'm just going to strip this together, if you don't mind. Secondly, earthquake resilience, because you just told us you're building 5 metre high concrete bunkers down there. So obviously, knowing that it's strong enough to last through earthquakes is important. Quite interested in what you said, Brent, just a moment ago about over in Papanui. Storage tanks for resilience across the city makes sense. I'm interested to know more about what else you're doing around the city. Perhaps that's a little off topic for this meeting. And finally, following on from what Vicky said, capacity, what we don't want probably as ratepayers is to get 6 years down the track and then have Mr Mayor come and tell us that there's an 18% rate rise because you guys built 100% capacity today and then our city expanded so much so we've got about 20% to $140 million plant. Sorry, did I?
That's a lot. So in terms of the health and safety, the fire risk, that sort of stuff, yes, obviously there's a lot of lessons learned into what happened, but I know that Adam runs a pretty tight ship out there in terms of health and safety, and we've recently taken on, started yet or not?
Senior health and safety advisor.
So we've got a permanent person out there now just doing health and safety stuff and ensuring
That's
as best we can.
I was mostly interested in, I appreciate you've probably plugged every gap in terms of making sure there are fire permit requirements now for people. But can you talk to us about the infrastructure? The difference between what we had previously was clearly a highly explosive plant because it didn't take long for it to go bang once it caught fire. But
Fiberglass is very flammable.
My initial read on this activated sludge is it's very, very inert.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
pretty well concrete. Concrete with blowers in it, pretty much.
It's a tank full of wastewater, so there's nothing to catch fire. But the biggest risks will be, say, in the blower building, where we have blower station, through design, we're looking at ways to what we're going to see there in terms of fires, so fires and take out the whole.
Because remember that the trickling filters, not only with the fiberglass roof, but they were full of like plastic balls, basically. Yeah, so yeah, it's and in terms of resilience, yes, that's what I mentioned before about the design. Yes, there are designs all around the world, but it's the foundations that are critical because we don't want the thing tilting or sinking or.
So would it be fair to say that is adding to the cost for us because we know we're a high risk earthquake zone now with probably on 263?
But the whole of New Zealand have had the building codes revised, so we just have to build it to make sure it's built to be as resilient as possible.
And the capacity questions?
Capacity. So I mentioned that the way the reactor's built is that it's in lanes, and if you need to add to it in the future and driven by development, then we charge development contributions for the new housing areas going in. We collect those. We put a project in the long-term plan, and it's funded through those developments. If it's purely for growth.
And how much headroom do you feel we've got moving forward at present?
Not sure.
I can't really call the exact year, but it's quite a number of, there's a couple of decades, 3 decades away.
That's a lot of headroom, like you said, 3,000 consents a month.
I don't really see that.
Sorry,
So, an interesting thing about wastewater is houses are very small, commercial, industrial, where we take up a lot of headroom. So, houses actually are quite
And just on top of this replacement work that we're doing, there is another big there's more programs running at the plant for upgrading the existing plant there. There's I think there's going to be work on the biosolids, there's the biogas as well. There's a whole lot of extra money in the long-term plan already for doing that. So, you know, it's becoming an old plant, you know, it's old as Phil. So, you know, all these things need replacing over time.
You say 1 week will take
Eventually your legs go and all that stuff. But yeah, no, and that's where Gavin's planners come in, is they're looking at the age of all that stuff and when we need to upgrade and making sure we're planning far enough.
So as a community, you're saying that it's reasonable for us to actually accept that this more cost coming at us, as has had true in Lower Hutt and Wellington and other councils around the city.
I would never compare us to Lower Hutt.
So do we have any from members of the public? So us community board members and councillors have been briefed on the wastewater treatment plant. And for members of the public, are there any other questions about the wastewater treatment plant? Anything to do with it? We're good. Okay, well that's good. Now I suspect the regional councillor who hasn't been briefed on it. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, and I'm sure you've made consideration, but traffic management, all of the other stuff that goes along with construction, etc. I'm presuming that will be a consideration to make sure that the community are well given detail well in advance.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the effect on the community's forefront of our mind all the time. And it's a requirement of any of those construction projects. They can't just go willy-nilly down roads and pop them off. We'll be looking carefully at that and keeping our colleagues at Environment Canterbury apprised of what's happening.
Have you started demolition work?
Not yet. The first instruction to the consultants was, please go and check on the bits that we don't want broken. Because we do have to marry in with some of the existing plant, and then Gavin will be getting a contract out as soon as he can.
It just sounds like it's starting to do something.
Pardon, I couldn't hear
It
you.
just sounds like it's starting. It's something happening.
It's not the focus.
Yeah, so after doing some work on the depot on the City Care Drive side, so between the treatment plant and Shelton Street, is that depot.
So what's going to happen there?
That's, you might have heard the council's asked for staff. I'm still in contact about we've got more staff coming on also looking at a formatted approach across the city in terms of parks. That's going to be the impact, so that's where they need to pull out from so they have been there for a number of years, but they're just expanding the number of people
The bit that they're demolishing, everyone would probably know as the eco shed. The first eco shed, that's what's getting involved at the moment.
Yeah. Before.
Because it was naked.
Sorry, Johnny.
Just a question while we're also there. Look at that pile of scrap out there that's a hazard to everybody. Are they going to get rid of that anytime soon?
Is that the pile of scrap on private property?
Just that big pile of scrap over there. I was about what? Can you see it now?
Kelly's going to look out the window and tell us what one it is. The car, yeah. The regional councillor can talk to you about that offline because it's not the subject of the meeting, but I know that he's been keeping a close eye on it.
Thank you.
And so, final question, I think, from.
Just asking a question about what you do with the eco schedule. Robbie should be all the rubble there from one of your buildings. It's all been, it's not super located to the probably surface with the old eco, when you do it on the eco.
I was talking.
Might
not work now, sorry.
All right.
Big voices.
All right, use my big voice.
Big voice. Yes, I've just been shipping all of the old buildings, all in the crates, and just making them all safe down at the tip, or the old, the other half of the tip. It used to be all your goats, with people where the parts to go in, so, yeah.
Cool.
All right, any questions from people who haven't been briefed on this? All right, Yanni, did you have a question that you haven't on something you haven't been briefed on?
Oh, I just wanted to give, just, I was a little bit concerned just with that last answer around the scrapping of the yard. Just to update people, the council is actually working on a plan change around the industrial residential interface. It will be notified before the end of the year, and that will give the community a chance to have their say on what activities happen under our district plan. And that has been specifically requested that council look at scrapping of yards, alongside things like shipping containers and other things that generate noise, debris, maybe a hazard. So we don't know the details of that yet, but we will circulate that. Unfortunately, what that means though is that we cannot retrospectively change people's consents that have already operated. So there is a compliance and enforcement issue, but there's also a plan change that we are working on to stop that from happening in the future.
Thank you, Yanni.
Update. And the other thing is, people have been asking questions about the construction of the new activated sludge plant. The council has also had passed a resolution to ask staff to look at setting up a community liaison group for the construction and the process by which we go towards building the new thing. So we did that when we did the ocean outfall. It was a community liaison group, and we've done that with things like Tikama, where the residents meet regularly with the contractors and the builders to talk through the issues that they're noticing to mitigate things like the disruption, the noise, and so forth, and to keep you informed. So someone being asked to look at that as well going forward.
Thank you, Yanni. Yes, and so just further to the first point, we, for those of us who live in Woolston and Bromley, where we have industry all around us, this forthcoming plan change is essential that we all have input into that. It's a big issue with shipping containers in Woolston and a couple of other operations such as steel yards, just as is with car yards and other odour generating activities. So when it comes up, please do come and have a talk to us, and we can make sure that we put in strong submissions as a community board and as a community. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your questions. It's really good that we are able to talk about the beginnings of progress. If you do have any further questions about this or about anything else, please grab one of your local elected representatives. So I'll get members from this area, from the Waitai Community Board area, just to put your hands up so you know who we are. Please grab us or grab the mayor. He can answer all your questions. And we're happy to follow those up. Thank you again. Thank you, staff, for answering questions fulsomely and for a great turnout. It shows how seriously this has been taken. And thanks especially
just one thing.
Aaron, to the CEO.
Thank you, everybody, for coming along and listening, and staff for coming at their own time to do so. One thing, let's have a look at the plan. It is not massive. What's happening here, probably half under the ground, half above the ground. It's not a big thing. It's nowhere near like a stadium or anything like this. You'll hardly even notice it once it's finished. So it's not, don't be scared of it. It's just a concrete box on the ground with a fan blowing air in it and pumping water out. So it's not a big deal.
Thanks. All right, thank you. And
Before you go for,
yep.
What plan have they got in Burnham that Ross Commission or Selwyn? What have they got? It's not a problem over here.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just that it wasn't around when we built these years ago. So you wouldn't use the word lucky that it caught fire. But
So you caught it.
if it hadn't caught fire, we'd still be stuck with it.
Yeah.
We'd still be using it. So had a bad comes good. So
All right, let's just close with a karakia. Kia tau, te rangi Māori o te rangi e tu iho nei. O papatuanuku I takoto nei, o te taiao I awhi nei. Ki runga ia tātou, tihei mau. Thank you, everybody. That's one for easy when you fit on this.